please contact the Governance Department. Safety announcement: evacuation details and information are located on the wall near the entry to the chambers. In an emergency, alarm will sound. Wardens will assist with your evacuation from the building. If directed, please evacuate in a calm and orderly manner via the reception area. Go directly to the evacuation point in the car park beside the town hall. Are the audio and visual recordings on? Thank you. They are. Declare the meeting open at 4:01 p.m. Attendance and apologies. Apologies from leave of absence from Deputy Mayor Stephanie Cameron and Councillor Kevin House, and I have apologies from Councillor Deb White. Acknowledgement of country. I begin today by acknowledging the Palator and Paha past peoples, the traditional owners and custodians of the land in which we gather today, and I pay my respects to elders past and present. I extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. Confirmation of the minutes. The minutes of the Meander Valley Council's AGM held on 12th December 2023 were confirmed at the ordinary meeting of Council held on the 13th of February 2024. Declarations of interest.
No, there are no declarations of interest, Mayor.
Thank you. Moving on to the annual report, General Manager.
Thank you. So it's with a great deal of pride that I present Council's 2023-24 annual report to the annual general meeting. The annual report highlights many positive outcomes, which we are pleased to be able to share. Our council continues to operate in a financially sustainable manner. We have applied sound financial management, balancing $27 million in operating expenses while delivering an underlying surplus operating result. This careful stewardship is key to balancing today's needs with the long-term stability, ensuring that we can continue to provide the services that our community rely on. Consistent with previous years, our management indicators are meeting the set benchmarks, and we have achieved an underlying surplus ratio of 6%. We are planning for the future by meeting 100% of funding required for our planned asset renewals. We have completed a large proportion of our annual plan targets, with some projects being carried forward into the 2024-25 financial year. Our municipality has continued to grow, with 300 planning applications received during the year. We have engaged with state government representatives, hosting a visit from the Governor, Her Excellency the Honourable Barbara Baker AC, and also the Premier, the Honourable Jeremy Rockcliffe MP, and state ministers at our community cabinet. We engaged with community members to receive their thoughts on the state government's planned reform agenda, the Future of Local Government Review, where we provided 2 submissions to the state government representatives. From a governance perspective, we farewelled Councillor Lockie Dornoff and long-serving Director Infrastructure Services, Dino DePoli. As with every year, infrastructure has been a focus, delivering essential repairs and upgrades to roads, parks and public spaces, but also planning for long-term projects that will support the growing needs of our residents. The new Bracknell Hall was opened. We made progress towards the completion of the new squash court facility in Deloraine and progressed planning for the redevelopment of the racecourse precinct. We made significant strides in promoting community engagement and ensuring that all voices are heard with the commencement of our new community strategic plan, a project that was recently completed. We have supported many local events and supported community organisations through our community grants program. I'd like to take this opportunity to recognise and thank our dedicated employees, councillors and volunteers for their continued support and collective efforts that work towards achieving the best outcomes possible for our community.
Thank you, General Manager. Somebody would like to move, somebody would like to second the annual report, please. Councillor Dudman, thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Loader, thank you. Councillor Dudman as the mover of the motion.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to the General Manager for his report and contribution there as well. I think a core thing to note there as well is obviously this is the first full year that we've had Jonathan Harmey as the General Manager, and I think he should be commended for the work that he's done. We have seen some vast improvements in the last 12 months, and that is something that I'm grateful for. In terms of the report that we're looking at, I think it shows that council is on a good footing. We are financially sustainable and continue to be so. Importantly, under the capital works program, we are delivering for the community and ensuring that our roads, our public infrastructure, our playgrounds, our parks, our pools are looked after for the community to use and enjoy. And those assets are what makes living in the Meander Valley so special. And it is so important that we continue to do that work. There is obviously more things that we can do and that we will do in the future. But I think as a whole, this shows that we are a committed council to our rate base. We are a council that is listening to our community, and we see that in the way that we communicate with the community, consult with them, whether it be on the local government reform or recently when we're in Blackstone Heights talking to the community about their priorities for the town they're living in. We need to keep doing that. We will keep doing that. And overall, what we're looking at here, I'm proud to be a part of and proud to continue working with my fellow councillors. We don't always agree, and that's a good thing. But overall, we are focused on the community rather than probably the politics you see play out in other councils around the state. And that is something I'm grateful for as well. So I'm happy to move and table this as read.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Loader as a seconder.
Thank you, Mayor. It's a really good read, this report, and I would encourage the community to go through and have a good read of it. For those of us who find reading challenging, there's lots of wonderful graphics and some good pictures where you can get the message that the report is giving. Now, I don't say that lightly because 50% of the population don't read and write in a really competent way. And this report does have the graphics, and that is just so very important that we make sure what we're putting out to the community is something that the community can actually use. I particularly want to note that 2023-2024 has been a fabulous year of consultation. It has seriously warmed my heart that we were able to have those community consultations for the community strategic plan, where the community had the opportunity to come in and make their thoughts known. And then not only were their thoughts known, but they were taken on board and put into that plan. And I congratulate staff, because it's not an easy thing to listen to so many diverse views, but I feel that in that plan they really listened and brought it into the plan, so it's there for us for the next 10 years. But looking at the whole report that we're looking at right now, I'm very happy to support it and to move it, and it's been a real honour to be a councillor this last year.
Thanks, Councillor Loader. Before I go to other councillors, I want to thank the staff for the work that they've done. Obviously, we as councillors come here twice a week. Yes, we look at emails, we go to functions, but the real hard work is actually done by the staff, either indoor or outdoor. I certainly get complimented a lot for the work that our outdoor staff do with the gardens, with the lawns, with the toilets, with the parks, that are well looked after. Lucky enough to come across a travelling mayor from Queensland at Remembrance Day and complimented us on the condition. So to Matthew and your staff, please pass that on. I'm very proud to be mayor of a group of staff members, indoor and out. And I say that indoor because you don't get out that often, you guys, but anyway, indoor and out, that actually take pride in their work. So thank you. Thank you to the GM. To Councillor Loader's point, we did go out, we did go to the community this year. We did ask for some input into our strategic plan, and we got some good feedback. The local government reform, we got great feedback there. 2 public meetings telling us where we should head. I've got to say, talking to other councils or other mayors across the state, they didn't do much consultation, some of them. And we did, and there are a lot of councils out there that are certainly in a poorer way than what we are. So thank you to the councillors also, and the staff and the ratepayers. It's a great place to be. So I'm too happy to endorse this report. So open up any other councillors that wish to make comment. Councillor Temple, with your microphone, please, councillor.
Just a question, Mr Mayor. As this is an annual general meeting, who is entitled to vote on this motion?
I would say that councillors, double check, councillors on this motion.
Councillors and any ratepayers? It's an annual general meeting. It's a shareholders meeting, effectively. I'm just curious because normally we don't have many people in the audience, or usually none. So it's a bit different. So I'm just wondering what the actual voting procedure is.
We'll have to just bear with us for a second.
Yep, so just to clarify, councillor Temple, to answer your question, anybody who's on the electoral roll for Meander Valley can vote on the motion.
Thank you. Councillor
Sorry, by show of hands.
By show of hands. Councillor.
But is that the question that councillor Temple was asking, like on any motions from the floor or on this motion? Because it says the recommendation that council receives the Meander Valley's council's annual report. I would have thought they were two separate steps, given the wording.
Well, the motion would remain the same. So it's just that anybody who's on the electoral roll can vote. So the motion would still be that council receives the annual report.
We've got that. We're clear. Any other questions from the councillors on this one? Comments, questions? If not, I'll sum up.
I just
Sorry, councillor.
add that it's, I think everything has already been said. Well said.
Okay, councillor Dudman is second of the motion. No, hang on, I'm wrong. Councillor Loader is the second of the motion. Nothing yet. Councillor Dudman's moved the motion. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye and raise your hands. Well, they're coming from you against. That's unanimous. Thank you. Everyone should.
So now move on to public.
Right, moving on to public questions. So public questions with notice. Page 91. Excuse me while I get brought up. Public questions without notice. Okay. Same rules apply. If you have questions, please state your name, where you live, and there's 3 minutes. Jim.
Yep, so there were no public questions with notice, Mayor,
Thank you.
so we're on to public questions without notice.
Public questions without notice. Any public questions without notice to the AGM? Sure.
The question is.
Sorry, I'm going to have to ask you to say.
Sorry, again. Start again. Sorry, I'm Ms. Danielle Farrow, Prime from 13 Parsonage Street, Tullamarine, 73004 Tasmania. And I'm a ratepayer. And my question is, could Meander Valley Council in any good conscience support upgrading a road which provides access to a for-profit company which is actively demonstrating that it is unlikely to be anything other than broke and not for profit, given its current financial reports, in support of mining bauxite, which is of limited value to any extant economy in this or any other area of Australia, and when on evidence it is likely to fail the pub test, and when there is a petition of apparently approximately 1,000 signatures already of locals who do not wish the vastly wealthy agricultural value of this area to be despoiled or disturbed or compromised, could council see in any good conscience that it could support using ratepayer funds to upgrade a road so that something that is innately invaluable in every regard and likely to fail, so therefore is by definition a waste of taxpayer? Could council in any good conscience support that?
Thank you for your question.
So I can have a go at answering that, Mayor, if you like. And I guess that's a very specific, there's a very specific example in mind in the question, and some, opinion within the question, but I can answer the question of a general nature. So as a council and as a road authority, we have an obligation to maintain all public roads in a safe condition for all road users. So if there are issues that are identified with the road, and we need to make sure that everybody that's travelling over that road is safe and well, and that's our obligation as a road authority.
Thank you, Jim. Any other questions? One, you only asked one. Okay, Daniel, one more.
When in this specific instance, council may be aware that similar to, I'm not sure if you're all old enough to remember, but there was something called a 10BA tax offset available to the film industry, which did nothing other than encourage junk films that were of no particular value and they never turned a profit, but they were a great tax write-off. And we are in an international environment where our federal government is doing its level best to shut down tax avoidance schemes, whilst other entities and levels of government are doing their level best to open up tax incentives to stupid schemes that are not likely to turn a profit and go to wreck the environment. So if council was made aware that the bauxite mine was likely to adversely influence agriculture, culture, humans, animals, etc., notwithstanding the fact that, of course, council is obliged to maintain roads to a requisite level of safety, as you just pointed out. Again, if the road was being leaned on to be upgraded in order for the mine to go forth, even though the mine was going to spoil everything and no one supported it anyway, would council in any good conscience support the allocation of ratepayer funds to upgrade a road, because roads that carry heavy multi-ton laden trucks in order to transport mining are at a different level of road safety, often, not always, but there are road bridges and weighing bays and all sorts of things involved in the road maintenance of mining trucks that are not necessarily at the same level of, consumer use, I put it that way, for my bit. So if council was made aware of a comprehensive study that displayed that it wasn't really going to be an economically viable entity, that was, on top of that, incentivised by a tax scheme in which the only reason that the bauxite mine was existing was to make a tax deduction for a company when it wasn't actually going to turn a profit. It's just a tax deduction entity. It's not a for-profit entity, and it's likely to despoil the environment of humans and nature. Could you actually be upgrading it to an industrial level, not just a commercial level? Would you actually allocate taxpayer funds, ratepayer funds, to upgrade it to a mining industrial level, not just a residential level?
Thanks for your question, Danny. Thank you.
Look, I did struggle a little bit to follow all of the points that you were making there, so apologies if I do miss some things. But look, the financial circumstances of a business won't change the fact that we need to ensure a safe road environment. I think that that's a reasonable expectation of all community members, of all road users, and if we weren't meeting that requirement, then that would be disappointing and we would have to work towards rectifying that. So from a road user perspective, that's all I can really comment on. The financial status of businesses, I can't. Whether the requirements of a road change in time, it happens quite often actually that road conditions, users of roads change, the amount of development on a road, the number of crossovers on a road, it does happen quite often. And as a council, we need to make sure that we are meeting the needs of the community, and we'll continue to strive towards doing that.
Thank you, Jam. Any other questions? No. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the questions. Public notice of motion.
Didn't have any with notice.
We had no public notice of motions provided. Notice of motion without notice.
We have one.
We have one.
Lee, what's the?
You want me to read this out?
I think Lee.
Lee's going to read it out. Okay, Lee, I've got a copy of it, but please.
Please explain the procedure.
Yep, I can, for you, Lee, I'll give it a go. So, we're into the section of the, AGM which covers public notices of motion without notice. So, any elector, so anybody that's on the electoral roll within Meander Valley, is entitled to move a motion. Then, in this instance, I'm expecting that you will. Then we will need a seconder of your motion. And then anybody who would like to speak to the motion are able to, and then we will put it to a vote of all of the people that are on the electoral roll present here today. If the motion, so we will have a vote, which will be those in favour of the motion, and then those that are against the motion by a show of hands. And we'll have a record of those that are voting in favour and those that are voting against. And if the motion is successful, then what that means is the motion is then to be considered at the next meeting of council. So if a motion were to be passed, then it will be provided to our next council meeting in our agenda for our councillors to consider. Is that sufficient?
Yes, and with the speaking to the motion, I can do that. So do I just wait until?
I'll try and guide you, Lee. So it'll be pretty much as we debate here, a mover and a seconder, open up for discussion, for and against, put the motion or closing arguments, and then put the motion.
Okay. Right. Thank you. So, in recognition of increasing pressures on our communities and our environment brought on by mineral exploration and extraction proposals, that Council affirms a commitment to sustainable resource management, the promotion of ecological processes and genetic diversity, and environmental stewardship and community well-being, noting the importance of community engagement, scientific integrity, public safety, and the avoidance of harm.
Thanks, Lee. So I'm taking that you are moving that motion. Yep. Thank you. Do I have a seconder to that motion? Danielle? That's a seconder. Thank you. As the mover of the motion, Lee, I'm happy for you to talk to the motion.
Okay. So the motion really speaks about the community strategic plan that has already been approved and is a success and something that we can all strive towards. So in view of that, also in view of the public involvement in the Tasmanian resource management and planning system, the fact that it is under threat, for example, the DAPS bill. So keeping that in consideration, and also that within that framework, community is one of the three cornerstones of the Land Use and Planning Approvals Act. So local government as a planning authority is the mechanism by which community takes part in that process. So the importance of local government representing the local community ahead of outside and foreign interests is of utmost importance. So recognizing that the community, even though of equal importance to government and industry in the planning scheme, we need to recognize that we are at a disadvantage in terms of resources, like our skills, our time, and money. Also taking into the account the surge of interest in mining at the risk of our amenity, at the risk of our natural resources and endangered species. Also the surge of interest in mining at any cost, even if it is not economically viable or sustainable. Also the motion talks to the offering of council infrastructure like Porter's Bridge Road for the benefit of outside interests that result in a burden and safety risk to Meander Valley residents. So this motion we urge through it all council members and staff to support it and collectively champion a path that safeguards our environment and enhances the well-being of our community.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you for that. Any other seconder of the motion? Do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you.
This is extempore, so apologies to the person who actually wrote the motion. Please, by way of preamble, just let me caveat or a preamble for the supporting of that motion. Recently, I was addressing the federal government member for Lions Outgoing, Mr. Brian Mitchell, Member of Parliament, the Honourable, about the insidious, outrageously economically vandalous, you know what I mean by that, ruinous inclusion of commercial and confidence clauses in all levels of procurement, that is local, state and federal. For-profit entities in Australia are not obliged, due to the legal inclusion, which could be legislated away at any moment in time, which I was strenuously suggesting the Labor government do, so that taxpayers, including ratepayers, get to see in total transparency where their money is going. And for-profit entities, even like the entity which is proposing bauxite mine, and may indeed be a not-for-profit entity, in fact, may be a losing money entity, a tax write-off for the entity. That entity, I would like to remind council, is right now legally able to include a commercial in confidence clause in any contract. And so that would necessarily mean that we as ratepayers were not able to scrutinise either the outgoing costs for the company or the way that they structure their tax deductions based on tax incentivising schemes that are already available to them, which may well prove to be the actual driver of their existence. In other words, they may not be existing for any really well-utilised purpose other than creating a tax write-off. And on top of it, to add insult to injury, we don't get to scrutinise the terms and conditions of that contract made by the state government. So because there are commercial in confidence clauses included in any procurement contracts, including mining, all hands on your desk or the desks themselves of the building that we're in, which is actually the absolute antithesis to democracy, because democracy was founded when poor people went, look at the gold building on the hill, off with their heads. That's not where our tax money and labour should be going.
Daniel.
No, it's to the
Preamble.
point. It's to the, that's the context. So in other words, we can't scrutinise what this mining company is even doing with money, which then ratepayers may be made to support in the upgrade of the road to an industrial level rather than just to a residential level, okay? And I don't claim to be aware of at what point weighbridges come in and at what point council needs to fund weighbridges versus the entity itself that could be losing money. I'm just pointing out to councillors that the inclusion of not commercial in confidence clauses at all level of procurement means that we can't actually scrutinise what our money is being spent on. And so this is actually a likely ancillary flow-on effect from a potentially disastrous environmental company, which is only existing for a tax write-off, if I put it so bluntly. You get that? So I would like to forward that community and environment is at the very core of the travel-based future of Tasmania, being that we are an internationally desirous location for travel and therefore valuable to the economy because we provide something that the rest of the world doesn't. Clean air, clean water, beautiful animals, a relatively intact environment with respect to how out of tax the rest of the planet has become. And so you are radically risking a long-term gain for a short-term dud event. I don't really know how else to say that. It's extempore. I haven't prepared this.
Thank you. So you're seconding the motion as it sits up
So
there
I'm
at the moment?
seconding the motion and trying to remind council of those other features that can come into play.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, any other people who would like to speak for or against?
I'm just going to say one thing, if I may.
With the microphone, please.
Maybe 27 seconds. Council.
Sorry, name, sorry, we're going to put you.
Ralph Wayman.
Thank you. Ralph.
Yeah, really much. Council may not know because it's news only of yesterday or the day before, but actually ABX is so broke that they're putting on offer 250,000 shares to raise $10,000 to pay bills internally. So I just would like to warn council that they are not a financially viable.
Thanks, Ralph. Any other speakers for or against the motion? John Devil?
Yes, I'd just like a greater understanding of the motion, if I could ask a question.
Can I ask you a question, Councillor?
And that is, by definition, mining and quarrying are not sustainable. Because it's a resource that's only there whilst it's there. It's not replenished. So therefore, if this became a policy of council, we would have, and we the word commitment, it would mean that we would not allow any mining, quarrying or drilling for oil in this municipality or gas. Am I correct?
Is that a question of?
That's a question, yes. It's a question of, you know, I'm asking, am I correct in assuming if that this was passed and then passed by council at the next meeting, that the actual wording would in effect preclude all mining and quarrying and
we'll have to take that.
municipality.
I'll take that question on notice, Councillor. General Manager?
Just to, as I sort of spoke to Lee when he was moving his report, with the motion that's presented before us, council will consider the motion. So I guess you've made the presumption there.
Council preempting that, I suppose.
So this may not necessarily be a recommendation that comes to council, but I guess we are taking on board the sentiment of the electors in the room today.
Councillor? Yep.
Peter Rockham, Harold's Road. Just in answer to that question asked, the mention of sustainable resource management is actually part of the planning system's objectives. It's written that way. So it certainly doesn't preclude worrying or anything. So if I can just add a couple of things. Just the motion in itself seems rather easy to agree to. I really can't see how anyone could object to it. If I can just read it out again, which I haven't done before. In recognition of increasing pressures on our communities and our environment, brought on by mineral exploration and extraction proposals, that council affirm a commitment to sustainable resource management, promotion of ecological processes and genetic diversity, and environmental stewardship, and community wellbeing, noting the importance of community engagement, scientific integrity, public safety, and the avoidance of harm. And I would recommend the motion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers for or against? No. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the seconder and the mover of the motion to wrap up, if that's right. Seconder of the motion, Danielle, do you have anything to add?
Yes, just briefly, sorry. It's
blind Freddie could see that when a community doesn't want something, and the last time I looked, the ABS said that Deloraine had 2,500 residents. And I'm not sure how many Westbury and the Meander Valley itself, I didn't do my background checks, but there's surely a point at which a percentage of the community who is against something sort of becomes a tipping point, if you like. So I'm not really sure, and it might be instructive for council to answer whether they've ever actually had served on any official petition and what amount of people were on that petition against the bauxite mine. That actually might be a useful answer to help council itself look at the issue, but it is clarion that people come to Tasmania for fresh air. Now, I would have thought that if the Tasmanian Tourist Authority was saying, come down for fresh air, you might not want to stick it with particulate matter from bauxite. In a failing mine situation where the actual act of extraction itself is a known quantity contributor to climate change.
Very good, thank you. To this date, we haven't received a petition, Danielle, so
I signed one, I thought it might have been served.
we haven't. To my knowledge, has not been served, council. Thank you. Any other question? If not, sorry, the second move of the motion, Lee.
I think the key word, one of the key words in here is sustainable. I think that's in answer to the councillor's question that the mining itself, you can't turn those things that were extracted, but it's a commitment to sustainable resource management, so not just an indiscriminate agreement with things. I think that would be, yeah, that's all.
Okay, all right, very good. Thank you for the discussion, the debate. I'll put the motion. So I'm going to ask all those in favour of the motion, please say aye or raise your hand. Thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 against. Motion is carried. Thank you. Motion is carried. Moving on.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
We move on, I want the white councillors.
Yep. Well, sure. So we've got a motion in front of us that will come before us at the next meeting. We have to do our due diligence. We have to take qualified information. Any motion that comes before us or any item comes before us has to be researched and presented to us. So I know why I didn't vote for it, or not vote for or against. I didn't vote against it. No councillor here voted against the motion. So the motion passed unanimously by those that voted. It will come before the next council meeting. Hope that answers. I understand why.
That answers, I just seemed like you were
Happy.
your membership of the community.
No, happy to talk to you when the meeting's finished as to. And the eight gentlemen.
I was just going to say, yeah, council will consider and form a vote at the, will be the January council meeting now.
Okay. So we have only got to close the meeting. We need a motion to close? No, I just got to close. Sorry, meeting is closed at 4:40 p.m. Thank you. Thanks for your attendance. Well done, councillor. Thank you.